This exercise, we're going to be creating a simple calculator, and the calculator is going to be able to do addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division, and you can update this calculator as needed, adding in addition options there for the operators. So we're going to take all of the page elements, and then using the switch operator, we're going to switch between the different cases that we have for the operation, and then output the result on the page for the user. So if we say 5 plus 8, we get a value of 13. We could subtract it, value of -3, multiplication and division. So we get the result being output. If both of them aren't numeric values, then we're going to be having an error there that's going to say both inputs need to be numeric. This lesson we're going to be creating a calculator. So I've added in an input field, a select, drop-down select with some basic math there. So we've got addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. We've got a value that's associated with each one of the items from the drop-down list. Another input type, so that's going to be the second number that we have. So first number, second number, and then we've also got the button in order to do the calculation and an area where we can output the results. So we've linked it to the JavaScript file, so app8.js, and now we can go over to that file and let's add in the JavaScript code in order to make this function. So what we want to do is we want to add an event listener to the button. So I'm going to just selecting the button on the page. So this one has a calculate button, and I'm just going to call it button. And we're looking for the element with an ID. So using the query selector, we're selecting calculate btn. And just to be sure that we do select the button properly, I always like to output into the console while I'm developing the application. So let's refresh, open up the developer tools, and just see that we've got the button selected within the console. So that means we can move on to the next step where we're going to add the event listener to the button. So selecting the button, adding the event listener. The event that we're going to be listening for is going to be a click event, and that's going to fire off this anonymous function. And within here, we want to select the first value, so selecting the first number. And we can do this by selecting number 1. And I'm also going to select the elements by ID here. So selecting the first button, so this is going to be num_a, and using the document. And this time let's get the element by ID. So get element by ID, and the ID value for this is going to be the value of number 1. And then we'll do the same for the second number. So we're going to have both of those as object variables that we can then select and make our calculations with. So what we want to do is we want to parse the float, and this function will turn this into a numeric value. And we want to take the value that we have from num_a and get the value out of that input field. So we're going to float that value and then do the same for the second number. So we've got our number 1, we've got our number 2, and this is going to be selecting the value that's contained within the second one. We can also set some default values if we want, or we can just expect them for input. We can also have checks to see if there is a value there, and if there is no value, then we can return it. So let's make sure that both values are numbers. So we'll check to see if is not a number, and we want to make sure that they are both numeric. So we're going to just null that with the exclamation sign in the front there, and we check to see if num_1 is there, if it's a number, and we'll also check to see if the second number is also not a number, so meaning that it is a number. And within the console, this will just be the error message, and we can put something out for the user. So we just see that it's not numbers, only one of them, we still get not numbers. And if we get 2 of them are numbers, then we're good to make the calculation, because we want to make sure that both values are numeric. So let's select, and we're going to do the operation for the calculation. So we need to know what sign it's going to be. So whether it's going to be a plus, minus, multiplication, or division. So once we confirm that those are numbers, let's grab the sign. So this is going to be the operator, or we can call it operation, and using the document, and it's going to have the ID of operation. And usually I like to have these up at the top. So let's select that, and we'll move it down there. So we're selecting the element with the ID of operation. So that's going to be that drop down there, drop down list. And here we can do the operation value. And this is where we can select the operation value from the input field. So that will return back the value that we want to use. And next we want to run a switch. So we want to get the result. So let's create a value for the result. And right now the result is just going to be blank. We can use the switch operator and get the operation value and do the switch for the operation value. So if case is going to be add, and we're just going by what we have within the drop down, then what we do is the result is going to equal the number 1 plus the number 2. That's going to be the result that we're going to return back. And then we can break. Let's do the next case. So the next case is going to be subtract. And if we're doing a subtraction, then the result is going to be the number 1 minus the number 2. And just move that up a little bit so it's easier to read. And then break. Next case. And just do this for all of the cases. So we've got the next case is going to be multiply. And the result for this is going to be the number 1 times the number 2. And again, we make sure that we break so it doesn't run through all of the cases. And then the last case is going to be the divide. And calculate out the result. So we're going to take num1 and divide it by num2. And then we can do a break once again. So that will set up the result. And we just need to write the result afterwards into the result area. So let's select the value for this. And we can just call this output using the document. And again, get element by ID and select the element with the ID of result. And here we can update the output text of the output. So let's try it out, and we get the result being output. So let's also throw an error message there. So if both of them don't meet the right criteria, the result will just be both inputs need to be a numeric value. And let's update that. When it is a numeric value, then it simply outputs the result.